Rev up your engines!
Yes, it's true. The price of used cars has gone insane. CarMax, now in Florida, wants $23,000 for a 12-year-old Ford Ranger. You can get a new one for that kind of price. Why would you buy a 12-year-old used one? But that's what happens because all they want to do is make money. And it's a profit thing to them. They don't care if they overpay for a car, because then when they sell it to you, they'll make you pay even more than that. They're just a giant corporation, you know. Kind of like what they used to say about computers. Garbage in, garbage out. They pay too much, so then you'll pay even more. And as long as people keep buying the cars at that price, it will continue. That's why I tell people, don't go to those places. They rip you off. They charge you too much money. Don't buy from them. Nobody buys cars from them. Either their prices will go down or they'll go bankrupt, you know. Vote with your money. Don't be a fool. Don't follow the rest of the sheep. Too much money out for some old used vehicle. That's the only way you can stop these companies from ripping people off. Is don't buy anything from them. I can't help but laugh at the hype behind electric cars, but the slow reality of charging stations. Michigan just said that they're going to get 200 more EV chargers, and only half of them, 100, are going to be the fast chargers. And this is going to happen by 2024. In 2 years, the whole state of Michigan will get 200 more chargers. Whoop-de-doo. I just read an article where in California, they said if they electrified California for all the people driving electric cars, they'd need 1.5 million charging stations. And Michigan's bragging about, well, in a couple of years, we're going to have 200 more of them. I just find it comically ridiculous, the reality versus the fantasy that they're throwing out with people. It's a spit in the bucket, 200. It means absolutely nothing. I mean, you want to take it further. I love the Top Gear guy he had the Toyota hydrogen car. He had it in England, and he said he got rid of it. He said it was one of the best cars he ever had, but there's no place to fill it up with hydrogen. Well, if there's millions of people with electric cars and there's no place for them to charge them up, you'll be in the same situation where, well, God, I want to get rid of that car. I can't charge it up. It takes too long. I'm waiting forever. Americans are not by nature patient people. And if you would have to wait hours to find a place to get your car charged up, waiting behind other people, that is not going to cut the mustard with how our society operates. This green stuff, yeah, great in philosophy, but in reality, no, it's not. It's an absurd idea that unless they're going to spend trillions on infrastructure, including the building of all the plants to create the electricity, which doesn't exist, and then have to make an entire new grid of power lines because the old power lines could never handle that power. They were not built for that power. People don't understand. 4 fast chargers, okay? They use the same amount of electricity as 250 houses. So if you're going to start building all these things, the power lines are going to have to be built. And not just, oh, we'll put a few more charging stations in. Hey, that's not going to cut the mustard. And especially not, oh, we're going to have 200 more in 2 years. Oh, big infrastructure there. Lace says, I have a Honda Earth Dreams engine, 1.3 liter, 2017. Is it direct injection or is it port injection? I want to know. It's a direct injection engine. It's a 2017. Honda started putting direct injections in their cars in 2012, and that is a direct injection. That's part of the Earth Dream system. It is a 1.3 liter engine, which is good because it was the 1.5 liter engines that they had that oil dilution problem in. You take care of it. It's a smaller engine, but it's in a smaller car too. So if it's a turbocharged engine, then yeah, you got to worry about oil dilution. But the problem was the combination of direct injection and turbocharging is what led to the oil dilution. Too much pressure from the direct injectors combined with too much pressure of the turbo ramming more air in. That's the problem that they had. I've seen Accords with the 1.5 that had that dilution problem. Roy Hines says, what about Volkswagen oil changes at 30,000 kilometers or 18,650 miles? Volkswagen say do the oil change at 30,000 kilometers or 24 months. I don't get it. They're trying to make it look like they're green. Oh, you don't have to change the oil that often. This is a green car. It's total nonsense. I see so many Volkswagens that burn oil as they age because that's too far to go. And they're saying 24 months. Well, everybody that I know that knows anything about car oil says change your oil at least once a year. So that shoots to 24 months. And anybody who wants to change their oil every 18,000 miles is foolhardy because it will get dirty. The only people that could do that would be people who drove nothing but highway going 60 miles an hour. Because if you're cruising at 60, that's 1/10 the wear. So if you went 20,000 miles, going just 60 and nothing else, more or less to 2,000 miles. Nobody drives just 60 miles an hour except guys in big 18-wheeler trucks, and they do change the oil a lot less. But they're diesel too, which is a different story. They're just trying to make up these things have less maintenance when they don't. And then when they burn oil, they tell you, well, this is normal oil burnage for this car. Well, it wouldn't burn any if you changed the oil all the time, like I do every 5,000 miles. Maybe you might have pushed it to 8,000 miles with the most expensive synthetic you get. But anybody who changes their oil every 18,650 miles is just asking for trouble. Now, if you only keep your car for 2 or 3 years, go ahead. What do you care? But if you want to keep them a long time, you're going to regret not changing it enough when it starts burning oil. Sick D says, is a used igniter okay for my 95 Toyota Camry? It needs an igniter. The new one's $300. I'm seeing used ones for $30 on eBay. Does it matter? Well, it generally doesn't matter quite a bit. Yours is broken. It's a 95, right? 27-year-old car. Do you really want to use a used part that's 27 years old? The igniters only fit certain models. They stopped using them soon after 95, so it's going to be a really old part. Now, if you want to gamble with the $30 and put it on, it just bolts on. You don't have to reprogram anything on an old 95. Go ahead, but just don't expect it to last all that long. Maybe it'll work. What the heck? But then you got that old part. Who knows how long it's going to work? But then again, if it's $300 for a new one and you can get 10 used ones for $30 a piece, maybe buy 3 or 4 used ones so you have a spare. So if it breaks, you can bolt it on. Stock says, I got a V8 4.6 liter Ford. The timing cover debris is in my timing case. I tried to tighten an idler pulley bolt. It broke. It fell inside, and there's a hole, and there are pieces inside. It makes a knocking noise. What's the best way to fix it? Okay, well, I hate to be the one to break the bad news to you, but you really got to take the whole front of the engine apart now and see what's broken inside. You're going to have to replace the cover anyways. And if there's pieces of metal in there, you say it's making knocking noises now. It may have damaged it already, and it's too late. But you're going to have to take it all apart, get all the parts out physically, pick them out, clean it all off, and then see, did it mess with the teeth on the timing chain? Is it going to need a new timing chain? And you're going to definitely need a new timing cover. You can't fix them. They're just cheap aluminum pot metal. You're going to have to replace it anyways, because the bolt goes in there. If you put JB Weld or something, you can't bolt a bolt to it and hold it on. You're going to have to take it all apart and replace it all. Otherwise, forget it. You never get all the pieces out. And then since it's knocking now, you got to look at it, take it apart and look at it anyways. Could be it ruined one of the gears and the timing, or the chains got damaged. You have to replace all that. Wooden Bitch says, I just inherited a car. My grandma gave her 2016 Kia Optima with 31,000 miles. I have no knowledge of Kias. I was going to change the tranny fluid and baby it. Yes, definitely. I would change the fluid every 30,000 miles in Kias. Their transmissions are notorious problems, but it's only got 31,000 miles. My tax accountant in Houston had a Kia, and she kept it for like 10, 11 years. And then she said, it's starting to break out again. She got a Ford Mustang V6. She always wanted one. They can last for some time. I mean, that small amount of miles. I'm sure your grandmother probably didn't drive like a bat out of Hades. She was just driving like a normal grandma. So it'll probably last you quite some time if you take care of it. And you got it for nothing, so what the heck? Yeah, change the oil every 5,000 miles. Take care of it. It can last for quite some time, I don't advise buying them myself because I would get a Toyota or Honda and keep it at 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 miles, which you can't do with a Kia. But you got it for free. And generally, they don't fall apart until they get over 100,000 miles on them, unless you got a bad tranny. So it's a good idea. Baby it, change the transmission fluid, watch my videos, and just follow regular maintenance. Bitzaki says, I got a VW diesel. Is it smart if I run out of fuel? What happens if you run out of fuel? Will it cause a lot of damage? Not if you just run out of fuel and the car stops you and don't keep trying to start it. Pumps are in the gas tank and they pump fuel. They're lubricated by the fuel. Sounds kind of crazy, but if you put your finger on gasoline, it's a little slimy and it lubricates the pump. You keep cranking it, it'll just be sucking air, it'll burn the pump out. But modern diesels are nothing like the old diesels. Now, it wouldn't damage an old diesel either, but the old diesels, when they ran out of fuel and sucked air, you had to physically bleed the air out of the fuel injection lines, cracking line, bleeding them out of that. Modern diesels are completely different designs. You don't need to bleed air. You run out of fuel, you just put fuel in, the pump pumps it up, and then it starts running. And it bleeds itself out. There's so much pressure that you don't have to worry about air in the line and it not running. Back in the day, I used to be cracking those lines all the time on Volkswagens and Mercedes diesels. People would run out of fuel or the pump would break and then it's all air in the system. It was a real pain. But today, no. They're all different. They're electronics and high pressure pumps. You don't have to bleed the air. Just the only thing you're worried about, if you keep trying to start it and you're out of fuel, you can burn the pump out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.